What is up, everybody? I'm Two-Tone the Artist.
And I'm Mitch the Peach.
Welcome back to the Hills Are Silent podcast, where we chop it up about the games of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Let's roll into it. All right, Mitch. I know you and I have had some time to game this week. I will allow you to do the honors of letting me know what you've been playing.
Yeah, so I took out my Wii U last week on last week's episode. We tested it to see if it works, and I was happy that it worked, but I had it plugged up, and I started Paper Mario Color Splash, and I was liking what I was playing, so I figured, hey, I'll just keep diving into it, and I've sunk in some time into it. And I think it was a good game to play because I've always wanted to come on this podcast and talk about the Paper Mario universe in general, so I think this is a really good time for me to do that. Paper Mario being one of my favorite Nintendo franchises. So, before we dive into the whole Paper Mario universe, we'll go in just to Color Splash, since that's what I was playing. So it's a 2016 action-adventure role-playing game developed by Intelligent Systems, published by Nintendo, obviously, and it was made exclusively, that has not been ported over, it is exclusively for the Wii U console.
Wow, that's pretty rare, because usually I think they ported most of their heavy hitters over to the Switch just so it would reach a bigger audience. So this is actually a Wii U exclusive.
Yes, it is a Wii U exclusive, and it's the 5th installment of the Paper Mario series. And this one follows Mario and his new ally, who is a paint bucket, and his name is Huey. And they're on a quest to save Prism Island and rescue Princess Peach from Bowser. Sound familiar? Of course.
Yeah.
But in order for him to save Peach and to restore Prism Island, he has to essentially put all the color back into the island. And he does that by having a hammer that he can swing to paint the entire island, which is a very cool feature. I mean, it's very unique. There's always a lot of them. There's a ton of Toads, so it's really Toad centered. It's Toad and Shy Guy centered. There's so many of each of them, and a lot of the Toads are missing their colors, and they're actually like basically dead without color. They're just laying there motionless as a little piece of paper without color. So you have to swing at the Toads and give them color back, and then they wake up and they say some clever lines or whatnot. I will say that before I go into the bulk of Paper Mario, the running thing with Paper Mario fans in general is that after Super Paper Mario on the original Wii console, it's really taken a downturn after that. I will say, though, with Color Splash, while I'm not a fan of a lot of the combat and what they've done with it, which is very similar to the other newer Paper Marios, the game itself is actually really a really beautiful world they created, really good writing, which is in every Paper Mario. They have excellent writing in it. It's so funny. All the Toads have their own little personalities, and they're all hilarious. There's a couple Toads. They're part of a rescue squad. There's rescue squad Toads, and you're having to go find the rescue squad, which is pretty funny because Mario's tasked with finding a rescue squad who's supposed to be rescuing other people, which they become self-aware. They're like, yes, Mario, we realize you were saving us, but we were trying to be the rescue squad and failed. But I don't know. There's a ton of just really good writing. That the bucket, or the paint bucket Huey, is really funny. He's always like, "Hey, I'm jammed in your pocket. You could take me out whenever and talk to you. I get lonely in there." I'm like, okay, that's just little clever Paper Mario lines that I remember from playing on the Nintendo 64 version. So that's the positives. Like, it's a good world, it's good writing, and doing the little puzzles and platforming around like you do in all Paper Marios and a lot of non-Paper Mario games, but still Mario-centered. That stuff is good. The bad stuff when it comes to Paper Mario nowadays, and including this one, is their battle system. In the old battle system, in the 64 games, in the GameCube game Thousand Years Door, and Super Paper Mario in the Wii U, it basically reminded me of like almost like a junior JRPG. It was turn-based, it was choosing a move, it was attacking an enemy. For some reason, I think it started with Sticker Star on the 3DS. They eventually started bringing cards into the battling, and it really just made things not fun and almost tedious to like fight people. So in this one, you get a bunch of cards that you can buy from a shop, and they all have like a jump, or there's like a jump, a hammer. You can buy like a turtle shell, or like a big ass fan that you can blow people away since they're paper. But with all these cards, you have to play them only. They made it really gimmicky with your Wii U. So when you're playing cards in a battle, you can see the battle in front of you on your TV, but when you have to fight, you need to use your gamepad and look down. So essentially, the gamepad is a touchscreen where you play the cards on your gamepad, you color them in with the paint, because you have to paint the cards as well, and then you flick the cards on your gamepad to play them onto the screen, which it's a cool concept. I mean, they're really using the Wii U to, show you the dual screen. But after a while, with so many battles that you get into with that, it kind of gets annoying where I'm like, oh crap, I gotta look down and figure this out now instead of just staring at my screen and playing the game.
So what's the point? What's the point of painting it? Just to have you do something?
So you have a limited quantity of each color paint. There's red, yellow, and blue. And essentially, some cards are already painted. If you pick them up by hitting a POW block, you can get a card from it or something, or you can buy colored cards in the shop. But it's cheaper if you buy cards that aren't colored yet, and you use your paint in your inventory that's limited, and you have to collect more paint to color them before you play them. So I guess it's a cheaper way to play the cards if you think you have a ton of paint at your disposal.
But it's not like it doesn't affect the card. Like, it's not like you can paint the cards different colors to give it different stats or something.
Nope, they're all colored the same thing. You just hold in on the card, and it just fills up the paint on the card, and then you flick it, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of like an arbitrary step, I guess. It doesn't really add anything other than slow the game down.
Yeah, literally, if it was just picking the card and playing it, that would be a little better, because it wouldn't be so much manual work to finally play the card and then play your turn. It's just, after doing that, though, like, sometimes you don't kill your enemy after that first turn that you make, where you can play up to 2 cards at once, but you don't kill all the enemies on the screen. So in one battle, you could be going back down and doing the same thing 3 or 4 times, which, I mean, in one battle doing that 3 or 4 times, but yet you do that in each level, there's probably 7 or 8 battles. It gets a little tedious after a while.
Yeah, sounds like it. So I've only ever played the very first Paper Mario, and I played it. You had it on N64, right? I think I played it at your house. So I didn't play it for very long. So I've never really had a full experience playing any of the Paper Mario games. And when a couple of years back, when I had gotten a GameCube all over again, and I started trying to find some games to buy for it, I came across a copy of Paper Mario: A Thousand Year Door for GameCube. I think it was like $40. And at the time, I mean, this was, I don't know, 2020 maybe, 2019. And I was like, that's not a bad price on a GameCube game. But I passed on it. And of course, the GameCube games and just keep going up and up in price. So now you are hard pressed to find a copy of Paper Mario: A Thousand Year Door for less than $100. So I was like, dang it, man. Should have just picked it up right there when I had the chance. Because now I'm definitely not getting it. If I didn't get it for $40, I'm definitely not getting it for $100.
I own a copy of Thousand Years Door that I've had for a while. I think I probably bought it for maybe $30 at the time, but I bought it probably 6 years ago.
Yeah. Well, that was a good deal. Got it before the price shot up.
Yep. Yeah, that and the original Paper Mario are two of my favorite Nintendo games because of, like I said, they stuck to the JRPG strategy of doing actual turn-based combat, not dealing with the stupid card aspect. I think they got into this card thing with Sticker Star, which was the 3DS version. That was the first one where they started doing all the sticker stuff and card stuff, and nobody liked it, and they just kept going with it. And now they've still, even with the newest Wii U or the newest Switch version, the Origami King, I believe they still do something that's very similar to the card battling that they had in the past ones, like the one I'm playing now. So I don't know what it might just be Nintendo being their stubborn ways, and where they all just think what they're doing is better and than what anybody else wants. I don't know, but I know there is a big clamoring in the Nintendo community for Paper Mario to go back to its roots and just be a turn-based combat and not deal with stickers and cards.
Yeah.
But overall, I will end by saying it's a charming game. I do love the writing. I probably will finish it because the story is very fun. The characters are great. The writing is good. The world they create is nice. But the battling is pretty annoying.
Mm. Well, I too have been playing a gimmicky touchscreen based game. And I talked about this in a previous episode when I first started playing this game, and that is Uncharted Golden Abyss for the PlayStation Vita. Now, when the Vita first launched and Sony was really pushing it with a lot of first-party games, they were, of course, anytime they have some new gimmick, just like Nintendo, they have all their first-party games like totally embrace it. Like on the original PlayStation 3, they had the 6-axis controller. I don't know if you remember that, but like you could move the controller around and it would, I don't know, do something in the game. It would pick up that you were actually physically moving the controller. So, of course, the PlayStation Vita has a touchscreen. It's very similar to an Android phone. And then it also has a touchscreen on the back of it, which is very weird. Oh. And I've only ever played a couple games that actually utilize that. And I don't know, it just never wasn't a fan of the touchscreen on the back of it. However, sometimes it's kind of cool to have a touchscreen on the PlayStation Vita. And one of the benefits of that is now that the Vita has been hacked and people have created unofficial ports of games or homebrew games, they've taken advantage of that touchscreen. And also a lot of old Android games are now being ported to the Vita because it has a similar architecture and it has that touchscreen. So a lot of these are old Android games that you can no longer get on like the Google Play Store, for example. So really the only way to play it is if you either have a hacked Vita or possibly a hacked Android where you can still load up, or an old Android phone laying around and you can still load up those game files. Anyway, getting kind of off topic. So the point I'm trying to make is a lot of these gimmicks were baked into Uncharted. And a game should either be all touchscreen or all controls, in my opinion. Because I'm sitting there playing the game normally with the buttons, and then every so often I basically have to do a quick time event where I'm swiping on the screen. And oftentimes it just kind of throws me for a loop, and then it's awkward to still hold the Vita and then do the touch screen and then hurry up and go back to grabbing the controller like you normally would. Some parts it's more fun than others, like a lot of the parkour you do when you're like climbing stuff like you typically do in Uncharted games. You can actually just swipe across the screen the route that you want Nathan to take, and he'll automatically do it. And that's so much easier than sitting there and just shuffling him across a ledge and having him jump to the next ledge. And it's just nice to like swipe your finger and he automatically does it all. And it works really well, surprisingly. So that was a good implementation of the touchscreen.
It's interesting you mentioned that because in Paper Mario Color Splash, there's like sections where you can also use the touchscreen to cut out like a piece of paper. You cut out portions of the level so that Mario can go across certain areas to make it easier on him. So I don't think we intended to make things a little similar, but look what we're doing here.
Yeah, and see, sometimes it can be done well. Like, that's cool. But there's a million and one mini games in Uncharted where, like, have you ever heard of, like, charcoal rubbings, where you put a piece of paper over something and you rub charcoal over the top of it and it basically makes an imprint of whatever you have the paper over? You got to do that like 100 times in a game. And you're literally just swiping the entire screen from left to right, like making sure you touch the whole thing. And then after like the first time, it was no longer fun. And then, yeah, there's just weird stuff like that. And I don't know. I think they could have pared back a lot of the touchscreen stuff. Although I will say and as far as the back touchscreen, you use that to climb up and down ropes. So it's almost like you're moving your hands the way Drake would to descend a rope or ascend a rope. So that was kind of clever. I'll give him that. But, and another thing that I thought was really cool, which I've heard you can do this with the Steam Deck too. And I don't know, maybe some Switch games support this too, but the PlayStation Vita also has a gyroscope in it, so it can sense that you're tilting it and moving it. Now, in Uncharted, it's a first-person shooter on the Vita, really good graphics, but it doesn't run all that well. Like, sometimes it will dip probably like in the 20 frame per second range. And during those moments, it's hard to aim, especially when enemies are running around. So when you're aiming, you can actually tilt the PlayStation Vita to move your aimer over a little bit. So it kind of lets you dial in and have a little more precision. And it's really used during the sniping segment. So anytime you use a sniper rifle, you can still aim with the thumbstick or do like quicker adjustments, but really you just aim by moving the Vita. So I'll move the Vita and point basically until the crosshair is pointing on the enemy. And it was so easy to get headshots that way. It was just nice being able to just tilt the controller just a little bit. Because I remember playing Call of Duty back in the day, and like people would be running around so fast, it really would have been nice. And like your aiming isn't fast enough, like somebody's trying to run circles around you. Like, it really would be nice if I could also just tilt the controller a little bit to just snap it in place and shoot them. So that is a really cool feature that I think should live on beyond the Vita. And like I said, I've heard that the Steam Deck can do that too.
That's cool. I'm trying to think if there's any Switch games that I've played that I've... Actually, yeah, the Splatoon games. I'm not sure if you're familiar with those. Speaking of other paint games, Splatoon's like a third-person, like, paint cover the... Whoever covers more ground with their paint color wins the game, essentially. But with their controls, it is partly moving the controller, but also using a thumbstick to go up and down. It's either left or right or up and down. It's kind of like a hybrid control setting. So they do take advantage of that in both the Wii U one and the Switch one.
Yeah, and I think that's awesome. I think that's the future of controls. There's already seems to be gyroscopes in every single controller, so why can't that be implemented in every single first-person shooter or third-person shooter?
It was tough on Splatoon when I would do it, but I love that game. It was tough, but once you get used to it, yeah, it feels pretty natural.
Yeah. But anyway, Uncharted Golden Abyss, it was a good game. It was a nice, like, side game for Uncharted, but it wasn't like a super epic story. Like, it seemed more pared back on the story. Definitely, yeah, it was a slightly pared back Uncharted game, but for what they were able to do on just a handheld, it's a pretty awesome game. I mean, it's a full-featured, full Uncharted game on the Vita. So I enjoyed it. Is it a must-play? No. Even if you're a diehard Uncharted fan, I think you'll survive not playing this one. So, yeah.
Yeah, I have beat Uncharted 1 through 4, but I don't own a Vita currently, so I'm probably just gonna pass over this one and maybe play that other one that they came out with on the PlayStation 4.
The Lost Legacy.
That one, yes.
Yeah, right now that's the only one I have not played through. But anyway,
But
that
yeah,
was my experience with Uncharted. You know, it was a handheld game, so I played through it in just small chunks. Now, the other thing I played this past week is the Resident Evil 4 Remake demo.
Oh, yeah.
So the game's not out yet. Right now, we're filming this on March 17th. Happy St. Patrick's Day, by the way.
Rocking my green.
Huh?
So I'm wearing my green.
Are you wearing green?
It is green. I don't know if you can see it, but
Oh,
it's
it looks
green.
kind of blue. All right. I'm definitely wearing
good.
green. It may look gray, but this is green.
Green.
Anywho, so yeah, the Resident Evil 4 Remake comes out on March 24th, but they've released what they've dubbed the Chainsaw demo. And it's very short. I got through it in like 20 minutes. It's essentially the opening sequence from Resident Evil 4 when you show up to that initial village. And graphics look amazing. Not surprised because that Resident Evil engine that they've been using for all the past couple of games just looks amazing. It runs so well. Played it on my
Did you run it on your new PC?
No. Played it on I hadn't gotten my new PC yet.
Okay.
So I played it on my fiance's laptop with a laptop laptop version of the NVIDIA RTX 3060.
Oh.
And it ran. I had everything on the highest settings, and it ran great. So I'm telling you, man, that RE engine is so well optimized. They need to license that out to other game makers.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I played through this. Graphics were amazing. Definitely seemed a little scarier than the original Resident Evil 4, because to me that game was not scary at all. I think they've upped the horror a little bit. It was very intense, and they got me again. I forgot that in Resident Evil 4, in that first village part, all you have to do is survive for like a certain amount of time. And then a bell goes off, and all the people attacking you just leave. They just ignore you and leave after that point. So I'm sitting here freaking out because there's like so many enemies and nowhere near enough ammo and weapons. I'm just like, dude, how am I gonna beat this part? And the chainsaw guy comes out, starts chasing you, and then sure enough, as long as you survive like X amount of minutes, that bell goes off and they just leave you alone, and that's the end of the demo.
Isn't that very similar to how Resident Evil Village started too? You just had to survive in that little snowy area at first, and if you survive for an amount of time, then it lets you advance into the next area.
Good. That's good to know because I haven't started that one yet.
Oh, you've not started Village?
No.
Oh man. Okay, yeah. No spoilers, but yeah, I think that is the first area, so don't waste all your ammo in that one.
Okay. Yeah, good to know. Yeah, I'm definitely going to pick up this remake, maybe not on day one. I think I got to play through Village.
Yes, you do.
Then after that, maybe there'll be a price drop, and I'll cop Resident Evil 4, the remake, after the first price drop.
Those games dropped in price real quick. I think I got both Remake 2 and Remake 3 for maybe $15 a piece, 20 max.
Yeah.
So yeah, they definitely dropped pretty low.
Yeah. I don't know if I mentioned this on the other episodes where we talked about Resident Evil, but Resident Evil 4, I know so many people love that game, but it's not one of my favorites. Because that was the pivotal point when Resident Evil started moving away from horror and moving more towards an action game. And yeah, at the time, I was so disappointed in Resident Evil 4. It was a good game, it just wasn't a good Resident Evil game.
Right.
And I've since played through it again a couple of years ago and got a new appreciation for it. I mean, I still beat it back then, and I beat it again recently and enjoyed it. So that, having said that, it's still pretty fresh in my mind. So now would be a good time to play the remake, so I can mentally know the comparisons. But yeah, I'm not as super hyped for this one as I was for the Resident Evil 2 remake or the Resident Evil 3 remake.
Yeah, now that I completely forgot you haven't played Village yet. Now I'm pushing you to play Village now, so we can talk about that on the pod, because I do think you'll enjoy that one.
Yeah, I think the only Resident Evils that I have not played through is Village, and Outbreak 1 and 2, which you and I started Resident Evil Outbreak 1. So at some point we have to play through those 2 games.
Yeah, we got to get back into that for sure.
Yeah. But
that's hard though, man. From what us playing that one night, man, that's hard.
Yeah, we almost need to recruit at least a 3rd player because I think you're handicapped when you don't have a full team of 4 like I think it's designed for.
Right.
Anyway, that was my experience with Resident Evil 4. We've been talking a lot about controllers on this podcast, specifically Xbox controllers. There's the original Xbox controller, Xbox 360, Xbox One controller, the Xbox Series X controller, which to me is like visually indistinguishable from the Xbox One controller, but I guess there's some differences. But anyway, I remember some years back when the Xbox 360 was still alive and thriving. I had a buddy that had customized Xbox 360 controllers. So I went over to his house and he had a whole bunch of Xbox 360 controllers. Each one was a different chrome color. He had like just a chrome one, a chrome gold, shiny gold one, a red chrome one. He had all these chrome controllers. And I was like, where did you get these? He's like, dude, they're custom. Apparently back then there were third-party companies that had websites that you could go on there and buy just the shell of the controller or replacement buttons. Like you could black out the buttons or have different color buttons. And you would order those and then you would take apart your official Xbox 360 controller, take out the inside or the guts of it and put it in this new shell. And that's what he was doing. And that was so cool. You could do, he liked the chrome ones, but they had all kinds of designs. And I think some would even allow you to like completely customize them. Well, Microsoft must have seen what these other companies were doing and thought to themselves, why aren't we doing this? This should be us selling this custom stuff for our own controllers. So eventually, Microsoft created the Xbox Design Lab, which you can go to their official website and basically design your Xbox Series X controller or Xbox Elite controller. You can customize it, and they will make it and ship it off to you. Now, what's your thoughts on this? Have you ever seen the old customized Xbox 360 controllers? Do you know anybody that's used the Design Lab for their Xbox Series X controller?
I don't know anybody who's used it, but I've been close to pulling the trigger on it and actually going in there and doing a little customization myself just for fun, but never actually pulling the trigger and purchasing the controller. I just think with me, I don't know if I trust myself enough to like spend the money to buy this customized controller. As cool as it looks, I kind of like getting the cheaper ones because I don't know. I'm a bit bad with controllers sometimes. You know, I'll eat and then use my controller, and you know, it comes down to the same thing I've talked about with the Elite controllers and whatnot. Like, do I really want to pay all this money for a controller that I don't know if I mean, I take care of it enough, but I could probably get one for a fraction of the cost. It does the same thing.
Yeah. And to your point, yeah, these Design Lab controllers are more expensive than your standard controller with essentially the same functionality. So you're paying for the look, not any additional bells and whistles. But yeah, it is fun to just go on this site because it's very interactive and it shows you the color changing as you design it and pick your choices. You can even spin the controller around and see it from all angles. Let's see here. I don't know. I will
say, when we were going through it, they've added some more customization options from when they first started, and I first looked at it when it came out, because they didn't. I know we were kind of going through it, and there was like customizable like back pedals or whatnot in the back of the controller, kind of like they have for the Elite controller. I know, I think it's an extra fee we saw on there or something, but yeah, they didn't have that when it first came out. It was strictly just like just the color and maybe like switching out like a couple of like the button designs that they had, but they've added a lot more as they've gone along.
So right now I'm just throwing together like a quick design, and yeah, you can choose through like basic colors, but there's definitely, I think right off the bat it's like $10 more than if you were to just go to the store and buy a controller, and that'll allow you to pick a few custom colors. But as soon as you start getting into like wonkier colors like the metallics or patterns, or adding rubberized grips or anything like that, all of a sudden the price starts creeping up. And each one of these custom features is like, I don't know, $4 or $5 extra. But right now I'm just experimenting, throwing every like premium feature on there just to see how much it cranks up the price.
Yeah, better put your gamer tag on there too. A little engraving action for a couple extra dollars.
Yeah, so you can engrave it. All right, so yeah, so with like every premium add-on, it's added another $40 on top of the other $10 extra charge they just charge for doing a customization. So just for a basic Xbox controller with all the premium customization stuff, right now my subtotal is $110. So
Meanwhile, I just saw a sale on controllers on Walmart for like $30.
yeah, I think I paid about 30 or $40 for my like just Xbox Series X controller. So I love it. This is super cool. Is it for me? I don't think so. I don't think I'm gonna be dropping an extra $50 just to change the look of my controller. But
No, and I think. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, but I definitely think there's a market for it, and I'm glad Microsoft did this and that this exists.
Absolutely, because I'm fairly sure there's still third parties out there that are doing crazy redesigns on controllers and whatnot. But I think it's important that companies like Xbox have their own options too that are a little more a little easier to get to and a little more friendly, as you could see with the interface that you're working with. It is very fun just to go in there and mess around, even if you don't buy it, and just take a look at some of the color combos and button optimization and whatnot. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love this website. They did a really good job on it. Kudos, Microsoft. I'm digging it. It's stuff like this that, even though it's not for me, this is fun. Like, this is just fun stuff they're doing. So I'm all for it.
And they've come a long way from the like plates. I think like you could buy Microsoft license for 360, like somewhat like those plates that we talked about in the pod for their on the 360 itself.
Oh
that you
yeah,
could
the
replace.
console
I think
faceplate
there were
saves
controller ones too that you could maybe, or maybe it was just stickers on the controller. I can't remember. Or like it was like a sticker out, like it was like a whole thing that you put over the controller, but it was still like a huge sticker essentially. I want to say, but it wasn't as cool as the face plates on the 360. But
Yeah.
I think they had little things, but not as cool as this design lab.
All right, yeah, I just want to highlight that because I'm a huge fan of controllers just as much as games, and especially Xbox. They're usually doing some pretty cool stuff and have some pretty cool designs.
Yeah.
So it is March, and Steam, their spring sale is upon us. Everybody, hide your wallet, lock it up. Man, they're going to be tempting us with great deals on great games, but I got enough of my backlog.
Same.
Yeah, I'll probably get something. I typically do every sale, but I'll
Also same.
I'll try to keep it on the low. Anyway, I thought it'd be fun if we took a look through our Steam wish lists. So maybe some of the stuff we've been anticipating or been wanting to pick up for a while is on sale. If not, I just figured if we went through our wish list, it would kind of give an insight into what type of games we play or we look forward to.
Yeah.
So Steam has a nice feature where you can pull up your friend's wish list and look through it. And Mitch, I got yours up on the screen right now.
Okay.
A lot less games than I have in my wish list. I think I'm a greedy man. I want it all.
Yeah, and I even added some prior to the podcast just to make it seem like I wanted more.
I envy your moderation. Anyway, so let's peruse through your wish list, and I'll ask you about these games and why they're in your wish list.
Yeah, let's do it.
So really, man, I think only maybe 3 of these games have I actually heard of. So let's start with...
That sounds like me.
Let's start with Across the Obelisk. Obelisk?
Yeah.
What is that, and why did it grab your attention to throw it on your wish list?
So I'm going to kind of combine that one with Battle Bands because they're very similar, just drastically different topics, I guess, or drastically different universes, but they're both deck builders. So essentially, sort of like a Slay the Spire, if you've heard of that game.
Yeah, okay.
It's a lot of a lot of them are story based, but you collect you collect a bunch of cards throughout your run. It's simply typically like a run based game where once you die, you have to start all the way over at the beginning. But as you move along into the games, you gather more cards, you create synergies, you become more powerful, and you try to beat the entire run. And even when you lose, you gain XP within sometimes a certain class or a certain character to the point where you get new cards and new strategies and new synergies. So it's pretty cool. And this one specifically, it kind of combines that deck building with more of a Darkest Dungeon feel.
All right, I just see now that Darkest Dungeon 2 is also on your wish list. So is that another deck builder?
So Darkest Dungeon is not a deck builder, but it looks very similar with the 4 people that are lined up like you see in Across the Obelisk. But they're similar in where Darkest Dungeon 2 is more of also a run-based game where once you die, you have to start all the way over at the beginning. But as you move through the dungeon, your characters get stronger, they get more XP, they become more powerful, they learn new abilities, or they power up their abilities, or they get new items that create more power within your character. So they're all very similar, actually. So you kind of can see that I have a type of games that I prefer.
I'm definitely seeing that.
I'm a big card game fan in general. So, I mean, a lot of times, I combine a lot of the different genres. I'm a big card game fan. I play a lot of Hearthstone. But I'm also a big roguelite fan. I play a lot of Dead Cells. I play a lot of Enter the Gungeon and Hades and those type of games as well. So not to take over my own wish list, but I also have Dead Cells on here as well. I have the Castlevania the Castlevania DLC that they just released, where they're partnering with Castlevania to create some DLC stuff for their roguelite game, which is pretty cool.
Okay, so just looking at your stuff, I see 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 deck building games.
Yeah, Fights in Tight Spaces, another one that's a deck builder. Where I think that's what I really want to play out of all of these, but it's never on sale. It's always $25. I've never seen it go down.
Dang, that's crazy because it's been out for over 2 years now. And they just never put it on sale. Wow.
If it's ever on sale, it's on sale for maybe 10% at the most. And I'm well, that's not really the sale I'm looking for, but maybe at some point I'm gonna have to just commit.
All right, so I got
Fights
questions.
in Tight Space is pretty cool. Good.
Questions about some of these other ones. All right, I see Anthology of Fear. I see Survival Horror, so that's up my alley.
Yes.
What is this game? Oh, it comes out today. It just came out today?
Yeah, actually, I've had it on my wish list for longer than just today, but it came out today. And I think it's a chapter-based game where it's more of like it's a mystery survival horror based where you're trying to solve the mystery of your brother's disappearance is what it says. And but it is, I think you have to buy it in chapters. I'm not sure if buying just the game itself unlocks all the chapters, but I'm pretty intrigued by it. This is what I actually was thinking of buying out of all the ones from the Steam sale, because it is on sale. 30%
on
off
sale
on the
first day it comes out.
Yeah, it says an introductory offer, and it ends March 24th. So,
I mean, it's normally $15. It's on sale for $10.50. Yeah, I wonder if that is the whole thing or just the first chapter.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess it's the first chapter, but I may commit and buy this one and report back.
Okay. All right, so I've got a few more to ask about.
Mm-hmm.
I see you have Metal Slug Tactics on here.
Yes. Good.
Metal Slug is an old series that's typically a side-scrolling shooter. So, what is? Yeah, this isn't even out yet. It doesn't even have a release date. So what makes you want to get this? Were you a fan of the old Metal Slug games, or?
I saw a trailer during some conference last summer, I want to say, and they had a hey coming soon wish listed on Steam, but it combines another one of my favorite types of games, which is more of an XCOM type move. I don't know, what do they call it, tactical game where you move a character to one slot, you tell them to fire, they have limited actions. Typically you have like a move action and a shoot action or something along those lines. So they combined that type of tactical XCOM-like game with the Metal Slug property, which I thought was pretty cool. And the trailer looked really fun.
So have you played the old Metal Slug games?
I have not, but I love the art style.
Okay. They're fun and they're hard to me. I'm sure there's other people out there that can breeze through them, but to me they're difficult games. All right, so the other one I wanted to ask about is Monster Rancher 1 and 2 DX. So is this like a re-release or something of some old Monster Rancher games?
Yes, it's a re-release of 1 and 2, which were on the original PlayStation.
Whoa.
That I used to go to my friend Connor's place, one of my good childhood friends. I used to go to his place, and he owned it on his PlayStation. We'd always play this together, and I haven't committed to buying it, but it brings back a lot of fun memories.
皆さんこんにちは。モンスターランチャーシリーズ
Got the sound on there, sorry. That's crazy. So this is like some old PlayStation 1 nostalgia here.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Man, this one must have really flown under the radar, because usually I'm pretty up to speed on old games that get re-released, especially like PlayStation 1 era stuff. So
I don't even know how I even saw that it was re-released, but I'm happy to say that it's very positive reviews, so they must have done a good job on it as far as re-releasing it.
Oh man, damn, $30 though for some re-released PlayStation 1 games.
It's another one where I have only seen on sale for like 20% at the most, and still at that price, I'm not sure that I want to commit.
Yeah, again, it's been out for like a year and a half. Should be. Come on, we need a better
Cut
sale.
that baby
than
in
that.
half for me. Come on.
And I wonder what they really changed in it. Is it just like a straight port, or did they actually upgrade anything?
Yeah, I think I remember seeing this on a trailer as well, and I'm not sure exactly what they did with it. It looks very similar to what it was on the PlayStation 1, so...
Yeah, it doesn't look like they've really upgraded a whole lot. Although it claims that it's online in the description, but then in the Steam attributes it says single player only. So, do they just shut down the servers already after only a year and a half?
Maybe. For the reviews, it says this game doesn't control very well on mouse and keyboard at all. You can technically do everything with just the mouse, but nothing about it feels intuitive, and battles are downright clumsy. The new UI elements were clearly designed for touch controls, which makes PC version feel like a bit of a mobile port.
Mobile.
Interesting.
Touchscreen. Was this like also... sometimes old games get re-released on mobile first, and then they port the mobile version over to PC? Is that what this guy is insinuating happened here?
I'm wondering if that's what happened. Let me look at my
look it up and see if it got a mobile
real
release. Well, he's also
that's
claiming, as far
interesting.
as you can tell, the visuals have not been changed at all. It is weird.
Okay.
They mention the online stuff in the description, and then there's no...
Yeah, there is a bundle on the Apple App Store for Monster Rancher 1 and 2 DX. So yes, it looks like it was originally, or I don't know if how they did it, or maybe they just released it for the same thing for both.
Yeah, huh. Yeah, it seems to be a common trend. All right, anyway, I got a couple more questions on your wish list. So, Super Buckyball Tournament. What is that, and why is it wish listed?
Man, if my friends are listening, some of them will laugh at this one because they've been giving me crap forever saying, when is Super Buckyball Tournament coming out? Because it's been saying coming soon for probably 2 years now.
No.
And they actually had a small open beta that we played maybe 6 months ago. So we're like, okay, cool. Like, we're making progress. We're in an open beta. It's going to come out soon. It's like a hero-based, almost like Overwatch meets Rocket League. You're picking a ball into a goal, but you're choosing, or you're using powers to put a ball into a goal, but you're picking like your own hero or champion that has its own certain abilities. So I was in the concept. I play Overwatch. I play Rocket League. This is up my alley. Absolutely. I liked the open beta. I thought it was a lot of fun, but then they decided to delay it for the foreseeable future because they're going to make a port for the console and then release it all together with PC and console port.
Interesting.
Which is kind of not the norm, though, because usually, like, if the PC version is ready, they'll release the PC version and then bring a console port in later. But I don't know. Maybe they didn't get the draw that they were hoping for with their open beta.
Yeah. All right, man. Last game I'm going to ask you about. We Were Here Forever. This seems to be an online co-op game.
Yeah, I was actually playing that with my friend Drew. Shout out to him if he's listening. We were playing. There's We Were Here 2, We Were Here Together, and We Were Here Forever. This is the fourth version.
Oh my god, so many sequels.
So, actually, it may only be there's 3 or 4, but we've played through a couple of them now, and they're very it's basically like very puzzle heavy, but you and your partner are not in the same room typically, and you're having to describe to each other what's going on in your room and how and what you're doing in your room is impacting their room, and we have to solve a puzzle based on what they see and what we see. So it's a big communication game, and we're like, hey, this is happening when you do this. We need to match these shapes to this thing so that the door opens on my end. So they're cute games. They're very short. I think in every one that I've beat with Drew, there is an option to survive it together or get out to where you're trying to escape together. But typically, I accidentally leave without him, and then the game ends with just me leaving.
Dang.
But super puzzle heavy. They're fun. They're short.
That's cool. All right, man.
I will say before I move into yours, the Outbound Ghost is I added it to my wish list because it is super Paper Mario. It is literally Paper Mario in a different game.
I saw that. I happened to click into that, and the first thing I thought was, this looks like Paper Mario.
It has mixed reviews, so I haven't committed yet, but it looks and acts just like Paper Mario. and does not have any of the card crap that I don't like about Paper Mario. But with mixed reviews, I haven't committed.
I will say one theme I'm noticing is most of the games in your wish list are relatively new. Now, I think the oldest one is like December 2021, maybe. So, is there a reason behind that? Do you already own every game you could possibly want that was released before 2022?
So I think the reason why my list is so small is because of Game Pass. And I know I always bring up Game Pass. I'm kind of, I bring it up probably every episode at this point. But it's true, like a lot of games, like I have Octopath Traveler 2 on my wish list right now on Steam. But Octopath Traveler 1 came to Game Pass very shortly after its release. So am I going to buy Octopath Traveler 2? Probably not. Because I'll see it come to Game Pass soon and I'll play it there. And then I usually delete it from my wish list at that point because I'm not buying it. So I clean my wish list out pretty frequently if I buy the game or if I get it from another, from Xbox or PlayStation or free on Epic Game Store or whatever. So I'm pretty clean with my wish list. Or I'm like, I just don't think I'm ever going to buy this. I'm deleting this.
Yeah. All right, man. So I think this episode's gone on for a while. We should probably save my wish list for next episode. That's
a little lengthier than mine.
Yeah, so you have what? Like, what's here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 games in your wish list. I think when I counted the other night, I've got like 125 in mine. Many of which I probably never will actually pull the trigger on and buy, but oh well, they look nice sitting in my wish list. I mean, we're not going to go over all of them, just kind of highlight some, but yeah, that's going to be a beast to tackle, so we should probably save that for the next episode. But anyway, this has been interesting. It's been nice diving into the mind of Mitch and the games he likes to play, the games he anticipates. Clearly a lot of deck builders. Clearly he still has love for Paper Mario, with the Outbound Ghost being basically influenced by that or a clone of that. And yeah, a lot of puzzle heavy stuff, RPG stuff, tactical stuff. So yeah, I get the sense of your favorite genres.
It's like really like becoming self-aware of like the type of girl I like. It's like the type of I've now seen by going through this wish list really breaks down what kind of games I like.
Yep. And part of figuring out what type you like is figuring out what types you don't like. It's a process of elimination.
Which could also apply to women as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, we're going to call it there, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to this episode. Thanks again if you made it all the way to the end. You can find our podcast on YouTube, as well as Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We also got the social media platforms. Mitch, let them know how we can be found on those other platforms, if you will.
Yeah, and before we dive into that, for all you Spotify listeners, if you could please hit the 5 stars if you're enjoying the podcast. I know a lot of you are, some of my friends at least, have been commenting on those and whatnot, but the 5 stars does help us a ton. So would appreciate that if you do get the chance. But other than that, our social media handles, our Twitter is at Hills Are Silent. Our Instagram is Hills Are Silent. Our TikTok is at the Hills Are Silent podcast. We just added a new one. We got a couple more coming there. And then our YouTube, of course, again, is The Hills Are Silent. If you have any questions, comments, game recommendations, feedback, anything at all, we would love an email at our Gmail at hillsaresilent@gmail.com. We'll catch you in the next episode.